Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about the statement, let's keep politics out of Dungeons and Dragons. All right? So I have a response to that. What? How? Why? And I'm going to say this flat out. Keeping politics out of Dungeons and Dragons for dungeon masters is absolutely, and for players, is absolutely absurd. It is an absurd, ridiculous statement, and it belongs nowhere on the lips of any real dungeon master. Okay, if you're a dungeon master, you definitely need to have a very clear, very sound, very stable, very modern, very up-to-date understanding of modern American politics. I am going to make a caveat. This is just for American dungeon masters. Different countries, like in America, we're part of our America. We pay attention to politics in America specifically because we're part of it. We decide who rules, right? There's other countries where that's not the case, so I'm not going to try to make this broad, for all players in all countries. This is just for American dungeon masters. All right, and also some countries still have kings and queens, which is like, okay, right? So this is just for American dungeon masters. All right, if you are an American dungeon master, you do not have the liberty. You do not have, in my humble opinion, you do not have the liberty. You do not have the right to say keep politics out of Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, every single version of Dungeons and Dragons, okay, has asked modern cultural questions and any modern cultural question absolutely involves politics. Okay? All right, so 1E and 2E. Where were the politics in there? Where were the American politics? Came right from deities and demigods. You know what's the deities and demigods? American Indian gods. American Indian deities. Okay? Now what the heck? Why on earth are American Indian, right, Native American deities in the middle of the Dungeons and Dragons 1E and 2E deities and demigods? That's a good question, right? The reason why is Gary Gygax built a game that is a simulation game of three things. It is a simulation of combat, it is a simulation of social interaction, and it is a simulation of exploration, right? And in addition to that, he built a narrative engine, right? And no modern tale today is free of politics. They all include politics, right? And Dungeons and Dragons particularly includes politics, right? So one of the things, just so you're aware, Waterdeep. It's been around, lots of different editions, right? How is Waterdeep structured, right? Well, it has Laeral. It has a ruler, right? In the current version of Dungeons and Dragons, it's Laeral Silverhand, right? And she is a political ruler, right? She rules over Waterdeep, right? Neverwinter is ruled over by Lord Neverember, Daggalt Neverember. Phandalin, a small, so those are two huge metropolises, right, in Dungeons and Dragons that have very clear politics that are very different, right? And then you have Phandalin, which is, and there you have Town Master Harbin Wester. You, as a dungeon master, are responsible to make decisions for these political leaders that match and model our current day, right? Not medieval Europe, right? Not not medieval feudalism, and not Japanese feudalism. We know this because 1E and 2E specifically included deities from America, right? American, right? Saying, no, you don't get to divorce your game from modern politics, modern cultural questions. Dungeons and Dragons, because Gary Gygax was this incredibly well-informed person who very much cared about politics, put politics in the game from day one, right? And it's still there today. And it's actually sharper, and the contrasts are brighter in the current version, right? Now, I do think that putting it, so, but your responsibility as a dungeon master to very carefully understand modern day politics so that you are crafting stories that are relevant to your players, and when they make actions and they make decisions, their decisions will be determined Their decisions will be impacted by the political rulers of the area. Right now, okay, Faerun, Laeral Silverhand, Lord Dagult Neverember, and specifically Townmaster Harbin Wester, you have a responsibility to craft those rulers in a way so that they will respond in a way that's exciting for your Dungeons & Dragons story, but far more importantly, in a way that actually models modern politics, right? Why am I saying that? Well, do you also realize that in Faerun, who's the king of Faerun? Who's the queen of Faerun? There isn't one, right? There are modern rulers just like we have in America, right? And you are responsible to make decisions based for the political rulers of your realm, right? Based on how our current politicians make rulings. This has been the case from D&D 1E, 2E, 3E, 4E, and 5E, right? Gary Gygax called everybody to play a game that simulates our world in combat, in social interaction, and in exploration. And guess what? Exploration is all combat, social interaction, and exploration is all about political decisions, right? When your character rolls into the tiniest village, there's a leader there, right? Or if there isn't a leader there, they have their own structure, right? And you could become the leader tomorrow, because any movement without a clear leader folds up or accomplishes nothing, right? And you, as a dungeon master, have every responsibility, in my humble opinion, to understand how politics works, right? For instance, let's say that Lord Neverember surrounds Phandalin with 100,000 troops, right? He, gets everybody, all of his city guard, and actually, brings in troops from other realms, and puts 100,000 troops around Phandalin. How will Lord Laeral Silverhand respond to that? That's a fascinating question. Like, would she say, "Oh, sanctions! We're not going to do trade with you, Lord Neverember"? And he's like, "Yeah, I'll invade tomorrow. Like, I don't care about sanctions, right?" Or would she say, "I'm putting 3,500 of the city guard up on alert, and we're moving them to the Neverwinter Forest," right? Like, you need to know, right? You have to make the decisions that modern leaders make. So you must understand American modern politics if you're an American dungeon master. Period. End of sentence. Right? Doesn't matter what edition you're running. If you're a dungeon master, you don't get to say the ludicrous. In my humble opinion, you do not get to say, "Let's keep Dungeons and Dragons out of politics." It is literally your job to run every political leader in a way that matches our modern culture, in my humble opinion. What do you think? You think I'm right? You think I'm wrong? Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.